Well, hey, howdy. Welcome to my shop. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I'm still working on this 9A, Southbend 9A lathe, and today we're going to put the saddle and the slide and the compound slide all together. I've done a little bit of preliminary work already, got everything ready to go. I've already put some oil on the ways, but well, let's just jump into it and get going, and I'll explain to you what we're doing as we go. First thing we're going to do is mount this gib. This goes on the back. Right now this is just sitting on there. This gib bolts to the bottom of the ways in the back and holds it, keeps it from lifting up when you're turning. Just got 2 bolts. It's real easy, real quick. Throw a little dab of never sees on these. Something I like to do, as I've told you before. And there's also a little lockdown on the front to keep it from tipping up. We'll get to that in a second. Been pretty crazy here lately. I haven't gotten as far along on this project as I was hoping to be, but hey, you know, life gets in the way sometimes. Kind of hard finding that hole back there. Come on, get in there. There we go. Goes up there as far behind. Now you don't want to dog those down real tight because you won't be able to move the way left or right. The saddle, I mean, along the ways if you tighten those down too tight, but you do not want it jumping up and down back there. That's got a little stiffness. And there's no up and down movement in the back. I like that. I think I'm going to leave it right there for now, and if we have to, we'll adjust it more later. This is the block that goes in the front with the bolt. Again, just a touch of never sees, doesn't take a lot of this stuff. And this grabs the front to keep it from jumping up in the front when you're turning. That's probably a little too tight. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now there's a little play there, but a lot of that might come out once we've got the apron on. And I know what I forgot to do is to put a little oil on those before I put them on. And I'll have to squirt some oil in there later. Alright, that'll keep that from moving around too much. Yeah, it never sees all over me now. Alright, let's get going on the compound slide. This is probably the most difficult piece to put together this entire process. That guy sits on there like so. Your screw feed comes in here, but it engages your bronze pin that's down in here, and getting that bronze pin in, you have to put it in after you've gotten to this point. And getting those threads lined up and pointed just the right direction is not always that easy. Now, it's a pretty easy fit. Notice I could push that down by hand, but I think I pushed it down a little too far. Get my screw here. Put that in there and try to get that in. I do have a little bit of play because I haven't put the gib in here yet. But now the hard part is putting the retaining screw in there. That slides in there, and then that threads in. Oh my gosh, look at that. I hit that first time. How lucky can you get? When I was practicing this the other night, boy, I fought and struggled getting that in there. Getting this screw lined up just right so that nut would go in there. And I still have to tighten that down. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but I've got the 0 mark. Painted it white so it stands out a little bit. I tried it in black. I just felt the black didn't pop as much, and so I tried the white, and I like the white a lot better. But I still got to tighten that down. getting closer. Now let's get that gib in there. And this is the adjustment gib, and we've got the 4 set screws that line up with the 4 holes, and the angle of this lines up with the angle of the dovetail. So you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move that out of the way. Come on now. There we go. I'm going to put a little witness mark right in line with that first one so I can see when I've got those holes lined up. That way it's not going to jump around on me later on. Okay, get that forward. Just going to push that in there until that witness mark lines up right there. That's good. And this gib eliminates any side play. If you try to machine your dovetails too tightly, you're going to get wear over time as you're moving them back and forth. You know, metal on metal is going to grind away slowly but surely. So you want to be able to adjust them, and that's what that gib plate is for. It allows you to adjust it, take out any side play. I'll explain that to you in a second here once I get this adjusted. Well, I can do that later. Side play would be movement this way, back and forth this way. Your movement this way you have on your screw, but you don't want any side play this way, and that's what that gib plate eliminates, the wear that's going to come down in there. And I know another thing I forgot to do is put some Type C oil in there. That's what they call for the dovetails. Just going to squirt a little in there and let it run down. Alright, that's good for now. That puppy's ready to go. Alright, the next piece to put in is a cross slide, which comes in here on these dovetails. And this shaft, screw shaft, this way, engages with that nut there to move you back and forth. We got to put that in first because of that nut on the compound slide that has to come in backwards. So put a little oil on this. And that gear, that spline gear right there, is what engages with the gear on the apron down underneath. Right now, I just put a little on that far end since I'm pulling it backwards. That'll spread as I slide it in there. There's that. I always start that backwards. So used to right hand threads. Okay, that's probably pretty good for now. Got that in there. Alright, now mounting this just sits right down in there. But if you notice, that's got a dovetail, a round dovetail. And there are 2 pins that come in back here and here come through that are angled to engage that dovetail. Let's set that down in there. That lets that swivel. Here's the two pins. You can see they're kind of ground to an angle on the top. Let's go. Try one at a time here. There we go. It's not a super tight fit, but you got to get it lined up just right to get those in there. And then we have these set screws that have an end flattened out on the bottom for pushing those pins in. Come on now, boys. Now, wouldn't you know it? The other night when I was practicing this, these ones went right in, and today, there we go. Just got to get that lined up just right. Push that one in a little bit more. Pin's not going in far enough. There we go. There it is. These are also the locking screws. When you set this at the angle that you want, you just tighten these up and that locks in your compound slide. Alright, now let's put this gib in. And it goes that way. This one's going to be a little more difficult to try to get lined up as I got nothing to see to put a witness mark on there. I wouldn't be able to see it, so hopefully we just grab it real good. And on these screws you can adjust the tension if you've got more wear in the back compared to the front, and you can adjust that way. And we will adjust this and put the dial indicator on it and check everything out, check our run in and out to make sure it's all true at a later point. We just want to get it together right now and get it looking like a lathe. It's getting there slowly but surely. Some of these are really stiff. That one don't want to go for some reason. I'll play with that later. Off camera. There we go. That's getting us there. Okay. Got that one way too tight. I don't even want to come out now. We're going to mount up the dials and the hand wheels and work on backlash. Now there are a lot of professional machinists out there on YouTube who have described backlash ad nauseum, but I recommend you go look for it, learn about it, because it is very, very important, and this is what will make or break a machine. But it's a very simple process. Let me try to describe this as best that I can real quickly. If you cut threads with zero tolerance, you're not going to be able to turn them. It's just going to be too tight. There has to be some slop in there to allow the threads to move back and forth as you're screwing it. And that's where the hand wheel and these collars come into play. You want this shaft pulled all the way back. See how I can push this that way? Because the shaft, the hand wheel, is going to lock this back so that as you turn it, it's almost an instant. There's no play in this hand wheel before the slide starts moving. That's backlash. There's my bulldog barking at something. So we put that on there. This one gets the big hand wheel. There's a little keyway right here and corresponding key right there, and it actually uses a round key. And that is a difficult piece to get in there. So I'm going to do that off camera. Alright, let me give you a good example of backlash. I have not tightened this hand wheel up on there yet. But see how much I can move this back and open that gap right there? That's what causes backlash. I would have to turn this. See how it opens up when I turn it before it starts moving the slide? That's backlash. So what we want to do is we want to eliminate all of that play so that as soon as I turn this handle, as you can see, as I'm pulling this back, holding that backlash out, this is moving almost instantly with the handle. That's what backlash is. So I'll adjust that, fix it up. We'll get this scale set to where I want it, and we'll be good. Well, I got this together off camera. I had some challenges, overcame them though, and we're on track now. Unfortunately, I do have about a 20 thousandths play in this that I can't get out anymore. So that could be the screw, the nut, the screw. It is what it is. I'm just going to have to learn to live with it until I get a little better and a little more knowledgeable and learn how to take some of that out of there. But I do believe it's in the nut and the screw, because I've taken as much play as I can out. This lathe was built back in 1945, so it is a good 60 plus years old, and it's going to have some wear. It has been used. So let's go get the compound slide put together, and I'll show you how to do that. We've got a little keyway that goes in there. I'm going to show it to you if I can. It is round, it is small, and it is a bear. I actually lost this off camera, but I did finally find it. Let's get her together. First you got the gauge wheel goes on, and I have taken and lightly with 400 grit sandpaper on my surface stone cleaned all the crud off of this. If there's any crud built on that, that'll hinder you with getting your play out as much as possible. So that goes on there like so. There's a keyway hole in here. We got to line them up, and then we try to put that little guy in. Line those two keyways up best that you can. This keyway is very, very small. Start it in there like so. Don't have it in there right. Like I said, this is not an easy operation right here. And again, Didn't lose it that time. Getting her started. I think that's just an little aluminum key, but I don't know if that's original or not. There she went. In there nicely. Alright, next thing is we have this keeper nut. Goes on there, and I made a little wrench out of an old paddle bit, because the bolt does come out through the end of the nut. Being a lefty, I'm going to turn this. To this side. I'm not fighting that handle that way. It's pretty good and tight, so let's check our slop in this guy. Well, that feels pretty good right there. I like that. Let's measure it. Oh, wait, I gotta tighten this down first. Oh, I never put the set screw in there. Silly me. This little set screw goes down in there. I'll get in there. There she goes. Okay. Give this a couple of cranks. Zero that out. Kind of hard to see if you don't get that lined up just right. There we go. There we're on 0. Now let's see how much we turn it back the other way before this starts moving. Kind of feel it. Well, I'm real happy with that. That's 6 thousandths right there. It's a lot better than the 20 plus thousandths on this lower one. Yeah, about 6 thousandths. So that's pretty good. There's a little slide play there. Now we can start playing with that to get that out. Of course, you will notice, I'm sure you can see it on the camera, this gib screw back here is not in all the way. I inadvertently got some paint down in those threads, and I don't have a tap that size. I believe it's a 1028 or a 1228. 1028. I have a 1228. I don't have a 10. No, I have a 1028. And it's too small. Don't have a 1228. I need to run through there, clean that paint off of those threads. I can't drive the screw in much farther. It just binds up on all that paint that's in there. So that's what's allowing a lot of that slop there. But anyway, There's the saddle, cross slide, the compound slide, all ready to rock and roll. There's my tool post holder, slides right in there like so. Tighten it up. I think I'll give all this a coat of black paint to dress it up, make it look nicely. She's starting to look like something, folks, and I'm getting pretty happy with it. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. Since this is my first major rebuild of a piece of machinery, I'm not going to complain too much. I might have these adjusted just a little tight because that is kind of stiff. It gets easier as it gets back here. Of course, most of your use when you're cutting is going to be, the cross slide is going to be back here, because when your work is here on your centers, you can see where your tool is. If I slide the rear stock in there, you can see that's where most of your work is going to be, is right in this area here, and that's where the most slop is in that cross slide. As I go farther in, it gets a lot stiffer, and you really wouldn't be doing much turning back here, because you can see I'm well past the center. Even if I was doing some faceplate or some chuck work up here, I wouldn't really be going that far in. So that's why there's not a lot of play back there, but it is back here where you're normally going to be using this. I see one more thing we can put on real quick on this to finish this off. Got the way wipers. There's 4 of them, 2 on each side. And as you can see by that, there is a left and a right. The long legs, the right long leg goes on the back here. And this keeps these way wipers, they are the same material as the felt material, but they're not felts or wicks to oil the ways. They're to wipe any shavings off so they don't get under and chew up your metal, chew up the ways. They just screw in there with one little screw. So it keeps you from eating your ways up and chips getting underneath the saddle and causing problems. And then you have 2 for the front. You stay there. Well, guys, ladies, folks, there's the saddle, cross slide, and the compound slide. We're almost ready to start making chips. We're getting closer all the time. Next up video, I believe I'm going to go ahead and tear apart the apron that mounts down here, and that transmits the power from the quick change gearbox to power feeding the saddle in and out, and it also power feeds the cross slide in and out of the work. And you saw that spline gear on this shaft when we put it in. That's what that power feed is, to feed the cross slide in and out. So that's going to be up next. I'm a little apprehensive about that project, as it's a pretty detailed project, and I'm going to have to make sure I take a lot of good photos so I remember how things go back together. In the meantime, this is Captain Jamie. Click like if you like, click don't like if you don't like, but please do subscribe. Until next time, have a good one.